Unequal exchange theories, primarily developed by neo-Marxist economists like Arghiri Emanuel and Samir Amin, argue that international trade is not mutually beneficial as traditional Ricardian/neoclassical theories suggest, but instead leads to a systemic transfer of value from poor countries, the periphery global south, to rich countries, the center global north. Intuitively, the theory suggests that the exchange of goods between these two groups is unequal, because the products from the poor countries embody a greater amount of labor time, value, than the products they receive in return from the rich countries, even if the goods are exchanged at market prices. This mechanism results in the poor countries effectively subsidizing the high living standards of the rich ones. Core intuition and mechanism. The key to unequal exchange in the formulation by Arghiri Emanuel is the imbalance in global wages combined with the mobility of capital. 1. Immobile labor, mobile capital. In the global economy, capital, investment funds, technology is relatively free to move internationally, leading to a tendency for the rate of profit to equalize across different countries. However, labor workers is highly immobile due to immigration restrictions, cultural differences, and social factors. 2. Wage differential. This labor immobility allows a vast difference in wages to persist between the center, high wages, and the periphery, low wages, even for workers with similar skills and productivity. Wages in the periphery are often kept low due to weak labor movements, high unemployment, and historical factors of dependency. 3. The transfer of value. When a commodity is produced in the periphery with low wages, its final price is also relatively low. However, according to the Marxist-influenced labor theory of value, the product may still embody a significant amount of actual socially necessary labor time. When this product is exported to the center, it is exchanged for a center-produced product, often manufactured, which, due to the high wages in the center, has a higher price but may embody less total labor time. 4. The result. The poor country is essentially trading a large amount of its workers' labor for a small amount of the rich country's workers' labor. This is the unequal exchange, a hidden transfer of value that appears as fair trade on paper, because the goods are exchanged at their market-determined prices. Suitable examples. 1. Manufactured goods from the global south. Scenario. A large batch of smartphones, clothing, or coffee is manufactured, produced in a global south country, e.g., Vietnam, Bangladesh, or a coffee-producing nation. Wages and price. The workers are paid relatively low wages, resulting in a low labor cost component and thus a low market price for the final product, e.g., a t-shirt priced cheaply for export. Unequal exchange. This product, embodying many hours of low-waged labor, is then imported by a global north country, e.g., the US or Germany, and exchanged for a smaller quantity of a high-tech machine, car part, or specialized service produced with high wages. Intuition. The low price for the southern produced good reflects the low cost of labor, not the total amount of effort or resources value expended. The North benefits by receiving a large quantity of embodied labor cheaply, enabling its workers to afford these goods and contributing to higher corporate profits, sometimes called an imperial rent or super profit. 2. Ecologically unequal exchange, interrelated fact. A modern extension of the theory is ecologically unequal exchange, EUE. This expands the transfer of value beyond just labor to include natural resources and environmental costs. Scenario. A periphery country extracts raw materials, e.g., copper, timber, petroleum, or grows commodity crops, e.g., soybeans, palm oil, for export to the center. The center receives these materials at low prices, allowing it to maintain high consumption lifestyles. The ecological costs such as deforestation, water depletion, land degradation, and the pollution from mining or intensive agriculture are largely externalized, borne by the periphery country. Intuition. The rich countries are not just receiving cheap labor, but also cheap access to the Earth's carrying capacity and resources. The poor country is left with both the economic transfer of value and the long-term environmental damage, leading to environmental load displacement. Interrelated facts and connections. 1. Dependency theory. Unequal exchange is a foundational element of dependency theory, often associated with Raoul Prebisch, André Gunder Frank, and Samir Amin. This framework argues that the underdevelopment of the periphery is not a natural state or a temporary phase, but rather a direct and necessary consequence of its integration into the global capitalist system, which is structured to benefit the center. Unequal exchange is the primary economic mechanism through which this dependency and development of underdevelopment is perpetuated. 2. Deteriorating terms of trade. Prebisch-Singer hypothesis. The work of Raoul Prebisch and Hans Singer observed that the terms of trade, the ratio of a country's export prices to its import prices, for most developing countries have historically tended to deteriorate over the long run. Connection. This empirical observation is often seen as a practical manifestation of unequal exchange. Periphery countries typically export raw materials and basic commodities, while center countries export manufactured and high-value goods. The prices of manufactured goods tend to rise faster than the prices of commodities, meaning the poor countries have to export more and more of their raw goods over time to afford the same amount of imported manufactured goods, leading to a visible transfer of wealth. 3. The world system theory. Associated with Immanuel Wallerstein, this theory uses a core-periphery, semi-periphery model to understand the global economy as a single hierarchical system. Unequal exchange is the principal driver of the polarization of wealth and the structural division between the core, rich, high-value production, and the periphery, poor, low-value resource extraction. The theory views the global system as historically and structurally rigged, with unequal exchange ensuring the continued accumulation of surplus value in the core.